Right, let me start right at the top because this one matters. Dan Bongino is out, and yes, we told you this was coming before it happened. Sometimes you just see the writing on the wall, and when you do, you share it. That's what we did here. I had solid sourcing. I knew this move was coming, and now Dan has confirmed it himself. He posted his first statement explaining that he's leaving his position in January. He thanked President Trump, the Attorney General, the FBI Director, and most importantly, the American people. Then he went back to Fox and Friends and explained why he made this decision, and when you hear it, it hits hard. Dan talked about what this role actually cost him. He gave up everything for it. His wife is struggling. He's living alone in D.C., staring at four walls all day, separated from his family, working insane hours, morning to night. He made it clear he's not playing the victim. He's proud of what he did, but it's been brutal. You could hear it in his voice. Now, here's the part I want to add context to. His wife was back in Florida where they built their life. He's in D.C. dealing with nonstop pressure, politics, and people who frankly do not have your back. And let me tell you something about television and politics. There are not a lot of genuinely good people. Most are transactional. DC plus TV is a toxic mix. Dan believes in holding power accountable, even when it's uncomfortable. That's the problem when you're inside the system. When you're independent, you can say what you actually think. When you're on the inside, you're expected to follow the line. Dan has always been honest to a fault. I'm the same way. That makes you terrible at PR, but good for the country. Being in that position put him in an impossible spot. You gather evidence, you pass it up the chain, and if nothing happens, what are you supposed to do? When leadership drops the ball and then tries to shift blame, who needs that? He gave up money, comfort, and family time to serve. At some point, you realize you can do more good from the outside. I've always believed that, and sitting right here with you, calling things straight, is where real impact happens. When you're inside, you lose objectivity. You're on one team, whether it's right or wrong. Dan doesn't operate that way. Even the president said it. He thinks Dan wants to go back to his show. I agree. And honestly, I think that's where he belongs, back with his family, back with his audience, saying exactly what he thinks. And yes, we'll be watching. And yes, I told him he's got to come do a pit stop with us. I don't bring on a lot of guests, but when I do, they're people like Dan. What happens next is pretty straightforward. Dan Bongino is expected to fully transition back into media after leaving the FBI in January. That is not speculation. That is coming from his own comments, President Trump's remarks, and reporting from multiple outlets. Behind the scenes, the resignation is being described as a mix of personal strain and structural frustration. Bongino took a massive pay cut to serve. He relocated to Washington, spent long, isolated days inside a rigid bureaucracy, and lived apart from his wife and home base in Florida. That alone would push most people out. But there's another layer here that matters. Bongino has built his entire career on being outspoken, critical, and independent. That works perfectly in media. It does not work inside a federal agency that answers to the Department of Justice. Once you are inside, you do not get to publicly question decisions, timelines, or priorities. Even if you disagree, you are expected to stay quiet. That tension showed up repeatedly. His role at the FBI was investigative, not prosecutorial. Evidence goes up the chain, decisions get made elsewhere. When action does not follow, you are stuck holding the bag with no ability to explain yourself publicly. For someone like Bongino, that is a losing position. There is also no indication of misconduct, firing, or forced removal. None. Every credible report confirms this was a voluntary departure. The tone from the White House and DOJ has been polite, supportive, and carefully worded. That alone tells you this was about fit, not scandal.